I'm wondering if everyone in the cars had to get out and run, why aren't any of the doors open, right? It's a good question. Cars were removed, bodies were removed before any investigation, before anything. They just got in there and took everything and moved everything.
According to intelligence reports, the Marines caught FEMA red-handed burying corpses in an earthen grave the feds had excavated with a backhoe.
It gives FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security jurisdiction over what goes on in these places during a time of emergency.
Even though there was gas in the tanks, in the ground, in the local gas stations that were not affected at all, were not anywhere near the fire, you could not purchase gas. There was no backup generator. There didn't seem to be any effort to bring them back online. And so you had to wait in lines that were miles.
Welcome back. My name is Renee, and this is Highly Motivated, a channel where we check out different things that I find interesting, and hopefully you will too. Today we are revisiting the Lahaina fires, and we can call it a wildfire or we can call it an arson, but we here know what it was. And I found so much content about what was going on over there, and I knew I was going to have to make a second video. I just wanted to thank everybody for all the comments and say hello to all my new subscribers. Hi. There's a lot to share here, and I'm not sure if all of these videos are 100% factual, but whether they are or they aren't, there is plenty to be learned here, because it is Lahaina today, but it could be where you live tomorrow. And we need to be as prepared as possible, because there seems to be a silent war, or not so silent war, on the little guy. If you're new here, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so that you're always notified when I upload a new video, and do me a favor, hit the like button. Without further ado, let's get into it. There were so many amazing comments on the video, and it was really refreshing to see that a lot of people are awake. Their minds are open. They're seeing things for what they are. One particular comment really stuck out to me, and I wanted to share it to make sure that everyone was able to read it, because it's a powerful comment. It was by Amanda Corby 3773. And she says, this whole situation is so effed up. The one thing that Native Hawaiians have going that the mainland just doesn't understand is community. If Lahaina is able to come together as a single entity to fight back, I don't know if I can say that, the way I see them doing, then these developers and government officials aren't going to know what to do. Normally after a disaster, FEMA and RC can get away with screwing the community because of one, the community doesn't really talk to each other, so they don't understand the extent of the corruption. 2, they are so afraid of not getting help that they are unwilling to call out the corruption publicly like this. But the government messed with the wrong people. Hawaii isn't the mainland, from everything that I understand as an outsider. The local community is so used to interacting and talking because they have to rely on each other being on an island, that they have a leg up that communities on the mainland don't have. On the mainland, our interdependence and sense of community has been destroyed, but that is Lahaina's biggest weapon. If the natives and longtime locals can fight together as a single unit, they can completely take down the man. All they have to do is stop following the directives, take care of the community no matter what the government, cops, agencies say, and practice civil disobedience to do what is required to survive. The last thing they should be doing is following laws and orders that they know are wrong and help no one. They need to take their community back and get the outsiders that are taking control rather than following local leadership out. The people should be taking over all of those stores and businesses that are not local and then operate out of those locations, use the resources, keep a record of what they used, and send the bill to the federal government. The only authority the government has in situations like these, this is my favorite part, is perceived authority. People are so used to following laws and police directives that they will follow them to their death. The police could tell people that the law is that they need to unalive themselves, and the only question that they will ask is, how am I supposed to do it? We are all sheep taught to follow police orders, even when those orders risk our lives and safety. A perfect example of this is Front Street. All the people who followed the directives died, while everyone who broke the law and drove around the police survived. Nowadays, as a poor person who the government doesn't value in the slightest, you have to not do what you're told to survive, because the government itself is trying to unalive you. That's rule number 1 of disaster response. Don't count on help or resources other than what you can actually see and touch. That's all you can confirm, so that's all you can count on. If you see a resource but you're not allowed to touch it, commandeer it. Locals should be getting a bunch of cars together, some bolt cutters, and liberate the F out of all the resources blocked by those institutions. There are more locals than outsiders, and you do not have to listen. Now, I just found that to be such a powerful comment, because the perceived authority, and I like that she said that we're all sheep, because honestly, we are sheep. We were meant to be sheep, but who's your shepherd, right? You need to have the good shepherd as your shepherd. Otherwise, like she said, you're going to be led right off a cliff. Now, the first video that I'm going to share with you guys is one that I also saw somebody mention in the comments, and I think it's really important for us to see. Now, I say take it with a grain of salt. We never know the 100% authenticity of something, but what does the Bible say? Test the spirits, pray on it. If it is truth, God will reveal that to you. There was supposedly a situation on the island between FEMA and the Marines. Now, before I really say much else, check this out.
So what's actually going on in Maui? U.S. Marines engaged and neutralized a FEMA convoy in Maui. And I will add at the end of this video a couple screenshots from the article if you want to pause and read for yourself. The convoy was fleeing fire-stricken Lahaina and would have escaped had it not been for the Marines taking it down. The chase began early Friday morning when Marines and FEMA had a shootout in the Maui Forest Reserve east of Lahaina Beach. According to intelligence reports, the Marines caught FEMA red-handed burying corpses in an earthen grave the feds had excavated with a backhoe. A procession of FEMA agents hauled bodies of men, women, and children out of an M35 Deuce and a half and heaped them on top of each other as federal supervisors stood around smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. So the Marines dismounted a distance away from the camp and they crept up undetected. The Marines took cover and began firing on the feds, and a dozen of them fell immediately. And then the feds began screaming, saying, "Don't shoot, we give up." So this is obviously a pretty severe situation, and it's not surprising that you're hearing nothing about this on the mainstream media.
No, and where are all the Hawaiian flags in everyone's bios on Facebook? Oh wait, the news didn't tell you to do that, right?
Of course, we all know how reliable they are. As the FEMA helicopter that had extracted some of the members attempted to flee, the Marines fired 3 grenades from a Mach 19 mounted on a Humvee, and one clipped the rotor, and then another landed in the open doorway, causing the helicopter to explode and crash. So I'm not personally sure how true all of that really is, but this seems to be one of the first documented incidents that proves the motives that FEMA really has. FEMA's not here to help us. They're here to control us. They're here to take our freedoms away. They're here to lock you up, put a mask back on you, go take the vaccine. When I started posting on TikTok years ago and started getting banned, one account after the other, I told myself I was going to keep this up because the truth needs to be heard.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be telling what's really going on. So when the shit hits the fan, people aren't surprised. And I think for the most part now, a lot of people are awake, but nobody really knows what to do now. Nobody knows what the next step should be. But one thing I can say for sure is until all this gets figured out, FEMA is not the one to trust. Thank God we still have some true patriots in our Marine Corps.
Yes. All right, and I paused it so you can read that. This gives me hope, because if this is a true story, that means when it does hit the fan, that there are people in our military that are for the people and that will not just do what they're told, regardless of whether it's right or not. And, you know, from the evidence and the stories that we've heard from what's been going on that island, it sounds more feasible that this story is true than false. Let me know what you think in the comments. You know, and I'm sure that they would much rather people just forget about details like that amount of children missing. But we can't forget, because like I said, it may not be directly affecting you today, but tomorrow.
There is a difference between need and want. If you need to get over there, go. If you want to get over there, don't go. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. I need you guys and my officers and the members in these uniforms sworn oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Nevada. And I understand Constitution of the state of Hawaii, which is another one that I swore to uphold. Forgive me.
Why do you say Nevada?
Because we understand the freedom of the press. But when we were here 2 days ago, there was a national news site actually standing on Front Street, streaming. Please report the news, but don't be the news. Please. We're adding, because of the Department of Transportation, a dust screen, which does a couple things. It actually blocks the dust and the debris with the winds coming out, but it also obstructs the view, which is a
Why
good
do you
thing,
want to
because we
obstruct
don't need
the
people stopping
view?
over on the side and trying to exploit some of the different things that are going in.
I.e., we don't need you seeing what's really going on down there.
A large scene. And so we're going to ask that you travel to and from where you need to go, and you don't pull over, because you're going to be warned and then you're going to be towed. And we don't say that to be mean or callous. We're saying that because we need to get this done right. We have set up what's called the MINT, the Morgue Investigation and Notification Task Force, with our local and federal agencies, so that we can do these identifications right and proper, that we can use investigative needs and means and measures with our partners, so that we can make sure that we're finding who our loved ones are, and that we make the notifications with dignity and honor. And so as we proceed to do that, it's very complex, but I got to tell you, I met with them. I'm also the coroner, for those that don't know that, and I was extremely pleased. And what this team of servants, we're all servants, is doing is we're every day asking what's working, what's not, and how can we improve. And so we are going to adjust, and we are going to pivot, and we're going to be doing things, and you might be asking, why are they doing that? Why are they changing? Because we're doing things to make this the best plan possible. This is unprecedented. No one has ever seen this that is alive today. Not this size, not this number, not this volume, and we're not done. And so we ask for your continued prayers. We really need them. Thank you very much.
Right off the bat, I feel it's weird that why are you the chief of the police and the coroner? Is that common, or is it common for a small town? If any of you know, let me know in the comments. That just sounds like BS, right? Next up, we're going to take a look at a news story that discusses the way that the U.S. would be broken up into FEMA camps in the event of an emergency.
How the U.S. would be divided in the event of an emergency, if we can pull that up there. There it is. So this is how the U.S. will be divided into districts. You see 10 of them there. This is according to
it's giving Hunger Games.
National Emergency Center establishment. Can you describe what this map is? What exactly does that mean? I mean, it doesn't really make sense in terms of states as we know them. But what is this classification system? What are the purposes?
It doesn't look like the map that you and I saw in elementary school.
Not at all.
Effectively, the U.S. has been cordoned off into these different districts. And so these new emergency centers will be spread out throughout the United States in most of these eventually. And it gives FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security jurisdiction over what goes on in these places during a time of emergency.
Okay, I want to go into because this act does make some specific examples, some exclusions, set some limitations, I should say. So the National Emergency Center Establishment Act, what it does not do, it does not authorize any federal officer or employee to force an individual to enter a national emergency center or prevent an individual from leaving a national emergency center. So, Bob,
for
it looks to me
now,
like there are some safeguards there. If you don't like it, you can leave.
Well, I'd like to think so. And this was actually one of the other things that was changed in this new version of the bill. They added this. But if you read what they're saying, federal officer or federal employee, that doesn't cover members of the military. And since these are going to be installed in decommissioned and existing military bases, you're going to have people from the military there. So I would think they will have people, namely in the military, who would be able to force people to stay there or prevent them from leaving if that is what they want to do.
Now to a controversial bill resurfacing in Congress. The FEMA camp bill allows the government to run at least 6 military installations when a national emergency is declared. These emergency centers would be run by FEMA under the command of the Secretary of Homeland Security. This legislation is meant to be enacted in the event of an emergency. But what exactly does that mean? What is the definition of emergency, especially when it comes to this legislation? When would it be enacted?
Sure. We have to go back to 1988 to the Stafford Act bill to actually get the definition of emergency. And this covers things like tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, natural disasters. But it also gives the president to declare an emergency to avert a catastrophe, which raises the issue of preemptiveness.
Okay, but this also, this is...
Which translates to whenever they feel like it.
Goal here is to mobilize resources, to have this plan to prevent a tragedy from happening, but also a reaction to it, right?
Yes, a reaction, and that's where some of the concerns for civil liberties activists comes in, because it's a slippery slope. Once the government has this power and all these centers are set up, and it's at least 6, maybe more, probably more, there is a real potential for the abuse of power here.
Okay, interesting. We have this map that shows how
he said the potential for abuse, just the potential. I think that if anything happens, the very last thing that you should do is go anywhere near FEMA. I mean, that's my opinion. And this is for entertainment purposes only, everyone. And these are just my opinions, and everything is alleged. So, the poor people in Maui received no warning, and they gave them terrible advice, and seems like they were purposely cordoned off to have to remain in the burn zone.
Survivors of the Maui fire say that they received no warning and that the flames appeared so quickly that escape was difficult. Everything was suddenly in flames, and many found refuge in the ocean for hours while their homes burned to the ground and into the same powdery ash footprint we've seen in recent years. So far, it is estimated that nearly 1,000 people have. Locals are worried this includes hundreds of children who were home due to school being canceled that day. Several people are reporting that the government is not only doing little to help, but they are blocking local efforts to do so and are not allowing local donations through. and that they are blocking life-saving medicine because it isn't federally approved.
Denying people access to bring in supplies, just supplies for people to live.
The government withholding every single one of our donations because we are not a part of FEMA and Red Cross. So none of this is eligible for giving out. Tell me why. I have no freaking clue.
Take it.
The people of Maui are on their own for now. And aside from the federal government's bureaucratic failure, they have good reason to be suspicious. Just like what we saw 5 years ago in Paradise, California, there was nothing normal about these fires. Within a day of burning, it was like a bomb went off.
When you see the full extent of the destruction of Lahaina, it will shock you. It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina.
Local residents have been reporting.
Isn't that just so, great for you when you wanted to build a smart island that you have to totally rebuild everything?
Bright flashes of light. One was captured by a home security camera that appears to have been the start of the Olinda fire. Many people are saying that it was directed energy weapons. We know that most major governments already have them. And during the California fires, online weather maps recorded what looks like a laser from above, striking an area just before it bursts into flames. In his research, Dennis Mills discovered that the incendiary aluminum and barium nanodust from chemtrails is most likely fueling the ferocity of today's so-called super wildfires. And on the day before the Maui fires broke out, locals were reporting a heavy overcast from chemtrailing that they'd never seen before. Lahaina is considered to be a historic and sacred land. It was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii before it was taken by the United States. It's been occupied by native Hawaiians ever since, who are defiantly opposed to the mainland outsiders who have been buying up land with no respect for local culture. Not just BlackRock and Vanguard,
which
but
are the same
billionaires
company,
like Mark Zuckerberg, who owns more land on Kauai than what the government of Kauai owns.
The number one shareholder of Vanguard is BlackRock. I mean, they're not different.
And Oprah Winfrey, who has bought over 1,000 acres of land in Hawaii, including a new 870 acres in Maui she just bought this spring. In 2018, the Paradise wildfires broke out exactly where the United Nations have plans to somehow make off-limits to humans. And that same year, a report on wildfire prevention was published that was focused on the exact same areas in Maui where the fires just broke out.
All the historic downtown, all of it is demolished and all the houses gone. But those commercial big box stores are still there.
Hawaii Governor Josh Green has been putting the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda ahead of Hawaiian interests. Just weeks before the fire, he unveiled an emergency proclamation on housing that eliminates the traditional Land Use Commission, allowing the government more leeway to build as they see fit, such as building 15-minute smart cities run by artificial intelligence, just like they've been planning to do in Hawaii for years.
At some point, I will make a major donation after all of the smoke and ashes have settled here and we figure out what the rebuilding is going to look like. This is going to be a long and difficult process. You're going to see a lot of Phoenix stories rising from the ashes here.
Survivors.
You know, why? So you can be in control of how it's rebuilt. It's just really gross. There's a lot of things that they know that people aren't just going to accept. And so they're going to have to figure out a way to railroad people into it. And that is why we need to be aware. And they want to keep us fighting with each other over things like, are you Catholic or are you Christian? Are you atheist? Are you black? Are you white? Are you gay? Are you straight? We're all God's children. And we all need to come together because we're far more alike than we are different. And as people, I think we are under attack by Satan. The end is coming, and it's just going to be more, and there'll be more situations. It'll get worse, and stay prayed up. That's all you can do. And one more thing with the chemtrails, like, who is doing that job? And if you are doing that job, how do you go home at night and sleep? Like, do you not know that what you're doing is awful for everyone? Do they have you brainwashed into thinking that you're spraying something that's not toxic into the air? I've never understood, and that is why money cannot be your God, because not every dollar is a dollar worth earning. So another thing that was going on after the fire is that all through the island there were issues with gas. They had people lined up for days, and it's, according to this man, they were giving out government gas. I haven't heard of lines for gas since my mom talking about it happening in the 70s. So it's really weird. It seems unnecessary. Why? Were you trying to keep people busy with their own little lack of gas situation so that they wouldn't try to help? Were you trying to prevent them from having the gas to get there to help? It just seems like an addition that they threw on the island just to make things a little more difficult.
Okay, guys, I want to show you what it was like to have to get gas in West Maui for days and days and days after this fire that occurred quite far away from where I am now. It was, even though there was gas in the tanks, in the ground, in the local gas stations that were not affected at all, were not anywhere near the fire, you could not purchase gas. There was no backup generator. There didn't seem to be any effort to bring them back online. And so you had to wait in lines that were miles long for government fuel to be, I think that's what it was, to be given to you. You had to ask for it. You had to spend your whole day in these lines. And we tried this for 3 days because we didn't have enough fuel. Even if the situation wasn't that we needed special permission slips to come back to our home, even then we didn't have enough fuel to leave West Maui.
A permission slip to go to your own house.
A lot of people don't realize is West Maui is fairly isolated from the rest of the island. It's not a 10-minute drive to get out of West Maui. I mean, from where we are, it's like a 45-minute drive, right? So you have to have a good amount of fuel. You're running into weird traffic and stuff, and you don't want to get stuck out there. There's not even cell service in parts of this area when the cell's working, but of course that was all cut off from here. So you can see this is a very, very small portion. We have some drone footage, and we have some video in our car driving along this line of traffic you see on the right side to get up onto this dirt road, which eventually goes to the fuel truck. And it is enormously, I mean, it's got to be 2 miles long. And the thing is, it's one little, they brought in 2 trucks, but one of them was diesel. So almost all of these cars use normal unleaded fuel. Right. And because of that, not everybody got fuel. We tried this. We spent our whole day doing this.
Their whole day.
Because we lived 20 minutes away from a fire. So now we had to do this for some reason. Every single thing about this is fucking crazy. And I was literally one of the only people, I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't cause any problems. I just tried to ask government employees, like, what the hell is going on? Why can we not get some information? Why can we not leave? Why aren't they making any efforts to get the gas stations working? I don't need the free government fuel. I don't care about that. I want to just buy some gas that's in the normal gas station that people normally buy. Like, why is no effort being put into resolving these issues? And I got no answers. I got nobody. The only government officials that would speak to me on camera are ones where I went up in a public place and put a camera in their face and started talking to them, and then got chased off by people. I mean, that was literally, I made dozens of attempts.
Right. Public servants who don't want to answer your questions. And I don't understand the purpose. Why no generators? Why aren't you fixing it? It just seems like they wanted to keep the island at a standstill for some reason.
Right? I spent, because I had nothing else to do. I mean, I'm stuck here. I can't do my job. I can't leave without being homeless, or I can't leave at all because I don't have enough gas, and I can't get the bloody gas because I'm here all day. So it's just absolutely chaos. Totally chaotic situation. And really, it legitimately seems like some kind of social experiment. I have a lot of trouble believing. I don't know, right? I don't know what they're doing, but if
we've been through a pretty recent seeming experiment in the past few years, haven't we?
This is really just people that are just being incredibly inept. I mean, the level of incompetence is something that is stunning beyond belief.
Oh, I feel that every day.
It just seems unlikely that giving you different colored place cards and things of that nature here is, so sorry, I'm just going to tell you what this is real quick. This is driving down the other part of this line, right? And this line doesn't move quickly. And there's a finite amount of gas. We tried it multiple times. We never got any gas. We never did it. It never worked for us. So these people sitting in
just
air
as they intended,
taking hot showers on the mainland, asking me, "Oh, why didn't you just fucking drive out of it?" Because I couldn't get any gas. Is one of the many reasons why we were stuck here. So, people that are not here don't know what's going on.
No.
And I don't totally understand this place either. I've been here for a while, but I haven't been here nearly as long as some of these other people, and they seem to be conditioned in ways and trusting of the government in ways that is bizarre. I mean, that's my personal feeling, and I've spoken to a lot of people who were here during past events, and the handling of those seems to be very crazy as well. There's the fuel truck that everybody's been waiting for. This whole line forms before there's even any fuel, and they don't tell you, is the fuel coming today? Is it going to be there? They say they don't know. How many cars are going to be served? They don't know. They don't have any information for us. We don't have
that. Like, why are they there? It just does not make any sense that it would be like that for any other reason besides to inconvenience, to make people unhappy, to condition them, to make them fearful. It's almost like psychological warfare, right? Why the heck are celebrities all painting their Maui properties the same weird shade of blue? We know why.
The heck are celebs all painting their Maui properties the same weird shade of blue? Rumors have swirled since October 2022 about Lahaina's elite painting their homes a unique shade of blue. Not just any blue, mind you, but an exact shade. Sounds like a quirky celeb trend, right? But what if there's more to it? Let's delve into the science of lasers, or as they're
First up, is there really any such thing as a quirky celeb trend? It's always nefarious.
Termed dews. Why? Because there's something interesting about a specific shade of blue in these energy beams. Here's the science. Certain energy rays interact differently with various colors on the spectrum. Some colors are more resistant or reflective, protecting underlying materials from harm. Remember those untouched umbrellas amidst the Lahaina devastation? Skyscraping trees untouched by disaster can be explained away. But how do you justify these seemingly invincible umbrellas? They're not just any umbrellas. They're blue. That exact shade of blue. Is there a connection between this specific royal blue shade, possibly dubbed the Mother Mary blue, and the dews? Could Lahaina's celebrities have insider knowledge?
Why that
giving
name?
Their homes a blue shield against these energy beams? This Lahaina blue mystery might be more than just a color trend. Dive deeper, ask questions, and always be curious. What do you think? Coincidence or a coded message in
Here's all the locations of the celebrities' homes. People on the island, you want to check, see if they actually have it. Blue roofs, painted all the same color. I can tell you that I watch a gentleman showing that, you know, that blue car that was on Front Street, that was actually there. Someone tried to comment and say, oh, that was drove there later. No, it wasn't. The people on the ground,
there's always that guy.
But for some reason, it didn't burn up, that blue car. Isn't that weird? And everything there didn't burn up that was blue. There was like blue trash cans, tons of blue stuff amongst burned stuff. Very odd. Let me see. I'll find the video real quick.
Okay, guys, this is the last episode
Blue.
I'm gonna do for a while, but it should be a pretty
That's
good
blue.
one. It's things that did not
Blue,
burn during
blue
the
trash
fire.
can.
I went through hours of footage.
It's a
That
blue
house.
almost kind of house.
Pretty
Look,
interesting when I found
blue
here,
umbrellas.
Levis umbrellas. These are actually Tommy Bahama umbrellas. And I have pictures of these before the fire, so you can see what they actually used to look like. Not very different now. And then the sole surviving car on Front Street in front of the outlet mall. And I actually found another sole survivor car the other direction that's a little bit further south on Front Street, which I didn't notice at the time, but here it is right here. You can see it on the left in this frame here. Anyway, I'm going to just roll some of this footage. Most of this is unreleased. It doesn't really work that well with TikTok because this is all shot in 16:9, but I've got hundreds of gigabytes, many hours of footage, both on the ground and in
All
the
this
air.
stuff over
So
here
all
looks
that
blue.
Footage, again, has been uploaded to a friend in an undisclosed location. They then copied all of that data onto a 256 AES encrypted hard drive and then physically took it to somebody else.
That's not blue. That's white.
So if
This area looks
intercept that
untouched.
or
This
edit,
one.
then we've lost. I mean, there's nothing more I could have done. In the middle of editing this footage last night, there was an incident where some people came to my house. They were banging on my door and they were yelling, Jeff Cygnus, Jeff Cygnus. We made the decision just to kind of lay low and see if the situation escalated. I was ready to defend myself. It seemed like it was at least two people, I think potentially more. We heard them talking to each other, and eventually they just went away, but I could hear the tone in their voice. I mean, these people certainly were not my friend, and I just want to speak.
Could we be seeing a little gang stalking action?
Candidly with you guys for a few minutes here, if I can. This whole last 2 weeks has been the longest 2 weeks of my life, no question. And I mean, I've done some stressful things in my life for sure, but nothing quite to this magnitude. And at the moment, I really need to think about the safety of my family, and I need to think about my personal safety. Now, I'm not done telling this story.
Okay, now a lot of things were blue where everything was burnt. But if things weren't burnt, like that group of houses that weren't blue, their area looked completely untouched. Amongst all the devastation, theirs was untouched. Well, that's a sign too, if you think about it. How is that untouched? And how in all the devastation are blue things untouched? That is very, very weird. Because that is the common thing that I've seen through the video footage. So here you see, that's the guy taking all the drone footage. In that video, it goes further. He said he sent the video out to his family, to one of his friends, not his family, to one of his friends. So if something happens to him, he also went on in previous videos when he's just walking around saying that don't go after his family. This is his choice. And he had woken up to the truth that something extra is going on. That's the gentleman. And now he's being harassed. Now he's being harassed for exposing, you know, they got that fence up and they don't want nobody to see what's going on. They said refrigerators were removed,
dust shield,
which is very weird and suspicious. Cars were removed, bodies were removed before any investigation, before anything. They just got in there and took everything and moved everything. I wonder why they moved the refrigerators. Does that prove some other type of weapon besides fire was used? Because it makes no sense. I mean, they're delaying everything. They're now giving permission slips for people in other towns to travel in Maui, and they're lining up by the thousands to get the permission slips. It's crazy. So while a lot of people in Maui know that something's going on, clearly a lot of people don't, because they're lining up for permission slips, which they should be standing up against that. So here's where all the celebrities' houses are. If you want to check them out and see if they do have blue roofs, that'd be cool. We could try and check Google Earth, but you know, it just depends on when those videos were shot. All right, guys, be the change you need to see. Here's some more info. Stay Nationals Rock.
Listen, it's super important that if you're ever in a situation that you do what is best for you and your family and do not hurt anyone else. And that's it. I think people are conditioned to just do what they're told. You start out at school, and then college, prison. I mean, what are they all? They're all pretty much the same in a way. Just be a free thinker. Now, a lot of people were talking about how none of the doors were open in a lot of the cars that were filmed. And fortunately, we had an answer, and it's not a pretty one.
I'm wondering if everyone in the cars had to get out and run, why aren't any of the doors open, right? It's a good question. So my neighbor actually was telling me in his office they have teams already open. But my neighbor's also very aware of the corruption within the government that most people have no idea about. He's retired military. He still works with the government. He just knows they're full of shit. That's the truth. He even believes that is proof that there was a direct energy weapon used. He said, bro, Kenny, how come they're stuck in the cars? He said, our teams are finding people in the cars, dead in their cars. This is what he's telling me. A lot of people might not know, I'm not that far from out. I came to Oahu to work on the project Save the Children for the child trafficking. A lot of people don't know the Hawaiian natives are the 8th most trafficked population. So we came to figure out how they're doing it, add information to our website, and to work on that particular part.
And it just so happens that 2,000 children, over 2,000 children are missing.
I'm here. That's why my neighbor has teams over there from his office. They're military. These are military people. He's just a civilian guy that's in charge because all of his clearances while he was military. He's a good guy, and he literally believes this is proof that there was a direct energy weapon used. He said there's no way they should be out running. They should be on the side of the car. But no, something happened where it was instant. There was something fueling the fire. Yeah, there was fire, but there was something aiding it. A lot of people say it's not just direct energy. It was almost like a microwave energy, a different form of direct energy. And that particular form would cause metal to melt. Just like if you
We've seen the melted metal.
Because I'm telling you, once the car catches on...
We had the melted metal in the previous video. And that... It just connects perfectly. And imagine how hot for those people to just be incinerated in their vehicles. It's sick.
Fire a little bit, we're gone. Like all of us would be gone. We'd be darting out. What would prevent a carload of people from getting out? This question needs to be answered. If there's bodies in these cars, like my neighbor's telling me, how come they couldn't get out? Even if something did catch on fire, you should still have the time to get out and run.
Exactly.
Why are they finding bodies in the cars? He told me this is why they're locking it down and they don't want people to see what's happening, because people should not be in their cars. They should be out of their cars at least, but in their cars. So that might answer the question on why none of the doors are open. It is crazy how you see cars melted down to the rim, and literally I've seen one with pools of metal, and then you'll see a car that's not that bad. How's that happen? If that's not some type of energy weapon. None of this is normal, guys. We need to question everything. We need to stand together. If you got courage, let's go. Be the change you want to see. Clearly the world needs to see. State Nationals rock, guys.
Yes. We need to keep sharing these videos and this information, because from the videos that I've put together here, a portrait is being painted that I can see very, very clearly. And let me know what you think in the comments, but I feel that if you're here, the portrait that you're seeing in your mind is very similar to the one that I'm seeing in mine. I know that there are probably people that are watching that are wondering how that they could help any of the people who are in Hawaii, in Maui right now. And I am just not a big fan of large charities. I do not think that they manage the funds as they should. I don't think that the money goes to where it should go. And I'm more of the type to go online and look for a family in Maui yourself that needs help and give them the money. We don't need an organization to organize us helping each other. we have the ability to just do that. And so I feel like, in my opinion, that is probably one of the most effective ways that we can be of help, aside from sharing the story and not allowing people to forget what's happening, and to keep these people in our prayers. I thank everybody for joining me again. And until next time, stay prayed up and stay highly motivated.